So if everyone can see this, I would like to talk about low-cost point-and-shoot cameras, one particular in especially that I have been using over the last couple of years because my success rate, I think, has been very enjoyable. Let me see. I'm going to stop my share for a moment and show the camera. It is a Minolta Highmatic AF2, which are very easy to buy online on eBay and such. They generally sell for in the $30, $40, $50 range. They have some plastic parts on them. They have some metal parts. They have a built-in flash. I generally use a yellow filter with the black and white film I shoot with. And as I said, my success rate has been very high. And because of that, I use it a lot. So I'm going to get back to the samples and run through 6 or 7 of them, I believe is the number I have. Okay. This was taken in Boston, just walking around. The activity on the Greenway in downtown Boston was especially enjoyable. So I photographed this young man observing the fountain. This image was taken on Beacon Hill. I especially enjoyed the texture of the rocks on the driveway and the tonality of them. This is a photograph I took in central Massachusetts. It's a place called Chesterfield Gorge. It's an interesting geologic demonstration of the power of water in the hilled areas in central Mass. This is back in Boston at the Boston Public Gardens, and one of the advantages I found of the yellow filter on the camera is what it does to enhance the foliage that I enjoy for photographing. This is also at Boston Public Garden. In the summertime, it was certainly warmer, as you can tell by the attire of the pedestrians. And just a back alley in the north end of Boston. I enjoyed shooting. This is a decommissioned bridge in Boston Harbor. This image is actually the town hall in Wellesley, Massachusetts, which was very interesting architecture, and I felt compelled to capture it because of the textures and the tones. And finally, this is a waterfall at an old mill that was converted into a hotel in central Massachusetts. And it was very enjoyable to watch the waterfall over the course of the day. So those are the images I wanted to share, and I will turn this over to Dana, who will announce the next exhibit.
Thanks, Joel. It was wonderful. I just wanted to mention, if you're in gallery view and you're seeing small pictures of everyone, I would recommend for the presentations that you go up to the top right corner of your screen and make sure you're in speaker view so that you will see a large picture of who is speaking, and then the full screen when they share their screen. I believe next, Hugh Nini and Neil Treadwell are up.
Hello, I'm Hugh Nini.
And I'm Neil Treadwell. And first of all, we'd like to say thanks to PHSNE for having us back. We thoroughly enjoyed ourselves last time presenting. And so we're glad to be a part of your meeting and the presentations. We are the authors of Loving a Photographic History of Men in Love, 1850s to 1950s. And we were asked to just show the book a little bit because it's very amazing. The publisher that published it used the highest quality of paper, and so that the 4-color separation images really represent what the actual photos look like throughout the book. And the paper quality is great. It's sewn in, and just a really nice, beautiful coffee table book.
And it launched in 5 languages.
Yeah, it launched in 5 languages back last year, 2020, English, French, German, Italian, and Spanish. So it's around the world. We've received wonderful support and just continued interviews and outreach about our book. If anyone's interested, there's several different where we talk about photos in here. There's several different short videos on our YouTube, and I'll type that into the chat in a little bit, but it's Loving a Photographic History of Men. And if you're interested in following us, because there's some great news we'll be sharing later through Instagram. Our Instagram handle is Loving by Neil and Hugh, but I'll put that in the chat in just a minute. And so we'll talk a little bit about 1 or 2 of the photos. So I'm going to share our screen.
Okay, so we were going to talk about 2 couples. One is in our book and the other came to us after the book was launched. So these 2 soldiers were part of the 42nd Infantry Division during World War II, and they're both from Texas, like Neil and I are. And they met at basic training in Oklahoma before they were shipped off to Europe to fight across Germany. The man on the left is John W. Moore, and the man on the right is Daryl Burns. They were a couple from basic training and through World War II and probably beyond that, but we don't have any information on where the relationship ended up. What we do know is that, first of all, this couple is the only couple in our book where there is a living relative who knows the story of his relative, John, on the left. And the tendrils from this story just stretch all over the place to some amazing points. John and Daryl, as I said, fought across Germany. And on April 29th, 1945, their unit, the 42nd, which is also nicknamed the Rainbow Division, has nothing to do with what the rainbow means today. The Rainbow Division came upon the town of Dachau. and they were about to enter the town, and they were intercepted by 2 American reporters and one of the civilians from the town. And the reporters and the civilian stopped the unit and said, don't go into the town, follow this road into the forest, and you'll find a concentration camp. They had heard of concentration camps, but they really didn't know what that meant. They had, they never knew were never quite sure what was exaggerated or what was fact. And what it turns out to be is that nothing was exaggerated. If anything, there was no way to describe what they would come upon when they got to the concentration camp at the end of the road in the forest. And so the Rainbow Division is famous. 2 books have been written about it because they liberated Dachau concentration camp on April 29th, 1945. And then a week later, Germany surrendered and the war in Europe was over. And about approximately another week later, they took this photo and this next one in Kitzbühel, Austria, in the Alps. And when Neil and I first started collecting the photographs of these 2 soldiers, this photo of them in the snow, we didn't know anything about. We were collecting photographs. Here they look like buddies. We don't intuit anything about a relationship between them at all. But there are 3 or 4 more other photographs that, and the reason we're showing you this one is because it's in the book. The other photographs of them were what we call 50-50. We have to be at least 50% positive that there's a relationship, a romantic relationship between the 2 men, or we don't collect it. And we actually collect very few 50-50 photographs, but we collected these. And after collecting about 5 or 6 of them, this one showed up to confirm our intuition that there was a relationship between them. So after our book launched a year ago in October, we received a package in the mail. Can you do this part? Yeah. We received a package in the mail. It was this book, and it's titled Imlau, and it came from Munich, Germany. And it was sent to us by the president of Sotheby's in Germany, Heinrich von Spretten. And he wrote 2 sticky notes at the front, and I'll read them. Congratulations on your book. And then he writes, when the prince was taken to Dachau by the Nazis, his friend went with him. And then he gives a page number to go to.
And so here's some of the photos, and you can see they're actually pictures of the Baron.
You and Neil, if I hit stop sharing now, we'll see the book more
Okay.
closely. I'm gonna hit that for you.
Okay, perfect.
All right, now we can see.
No matter?
Is it in focus?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can see some of the photos of the Prince and the Baron together there, and actually he tabbed out through the entire book photographs of the couple together.
Yeah, this book, Imlau, is about the German royalty from the 1860s on up through modern times, approximately ending in the 1980s. So the intersection between our book and our subjects of our book and this book is that this prince and this baron were, the prince was Prince Friedrich Leopold, the baron is Baron Fritz Cherini. They were a couple since their late teens and into their 20s and 30s and maybe a little bit beyond that. But in 1944, they were arrested by the Nazis and they were taken to Dachau concentration camp. So here you have our American soldiers with the Rainbow Division liberating Dachau concentration camp on April 29th. 4 days earlier, the Nazis rounded up all the high-value detainees at Dachau, including this prince and this baron and some prime minister from France, a prime minister from Austria, and Catholic clergy and others. There were 139 in total that they removed from the camp to be shot at a firing squad. So they were taken out of the camp in the middle of the night, and then they were taken to be shot. And 4 days later, the camp was liberated. What we've come to find out is that everybody that was removed from the camp, we're pretty sure it's everybody, survived the firing squad because it didn't take place. The Germans later rethought it. We believe this is a little bit of information that we've gotten. They rethought it and said these people are worth more to us alive than dead, and so they used them for bargaining chips at the end of World War II. So here you have these 2 soldiers from Texas, and the two German royals from the German royal family in Germany. You find them intersecting at one of the most horrible places in the world, Dachau concentration camp, that was liberated on April 29th. And just 4 days too late for the Baron and the Prince. Fortunately, as I said, they did escape the firing squad.
So this is one of those stories we have. We're hoping that we're going to get more stories as the book gets out more into the world, and and COVID gives the opportunity for us to share these photographs with everyone. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that we have some interesting ones to share later on.
And that's the end of our presentation.
Thank you both. That's yeah, it's great to expand on what you've already discovered in the book, and I'm sure it will continue. And I can see behind you that one of the French edition is not titled Loving.
No, the French, the French.
The French, the Sam. And then the other interesting thing is German. So they always do theirs different. So the book is actually upside down. They do their writing on the opposite side. So if you're laying on the coffee table, you don't see the beautiful top of the book laying on the coffee table, you see the back of the book. So every country has its own way of doing things.
We did try to get all of the co-publishers to use Loving as the title, but the French said we're going to use Ils s'aiment, and that means they love each other, is what we've been told the translation is.
Great. And I see the holiday decorations, so
Now
double points for you.
They're everywhere else in the room, but not behind us. So I thought, well, I'll just put something behind us. So there's our two friends.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you. Ben, I believe you are next. Are you all set?
Yes, I am. I'm all set. Can everyone hear me all right? Okay. All right. So for this year, last year, I took a look back at department store cameras, and that was a lot of fun. But the original topic I was thinking of doing back then, and so I wanted to do it now, is the Canon cameras. So Canon was the first DSLR camera that I had that really got me into photography. And then once I started getting some more of the older and older equipment, I started gravitating towards Canon because it was the first brand that I used sort of with my DSLR. So as I was checking out the older and older stuff, I got into Canon. So it's my #1 brand. I've got Canon watch. I've got Canon Parker pen. I've got Canon camera stands. I've got Canon lens stands. And a couple of, I've got Canon in the box, Canon out of the box. This is an A1 package with a 50mm f1.4. So basically the A1 was a great camera. So I just wanted to, now that I've shown you some of the accessories, I wanted to show you a few specific cameras. I'll start with sort of like the older cameras and then move forward. One of the cool things about Canon is they haven't changed their logo that much. So the old school cameras and the watch still match. So that's it's nice, it carries through. So starting with this one, this is an M39 or L39 camera. This is an interchangeable lens camera. It's got a model name here. It's the VIT. And this one, I actually managed to get the 50mm f1.2 lens. You can't really see it in detail, but that's the fastest lens. And so this is a great one here. Then moving on, we have one of an early Canon. This is the AE1. It's not the AE1 program, so it has some different features than the program version. The program version has more auto features built in, auto aperture, for instance. And with this one, there's some auto functionality, but it's limited. And this one in particular, I've got with the big Canon side flash. You can notice that my camera stand is a little bit more empty than usual, and that's because I've pulled down some of the old faithfuls. So I don't actually shoot that much film with my cameras. I only do about like a roll a year, but that's a good thing, because if I tried to shoot film in all these cameras, I would probably go broke, because I know how expensive film publishing is, film developing is and everything. But I'm more of a collector. I like to take family photos of my own family, but let's see what I'm going to show next. So, but I collect way more than I use. These are two Canon F1s. This is here is the original F1, and they're very dark cameras, so they're a little bit hard to see on screen. But basically, the difference is this newer F1 had a different battery compartment. This one had a self timer. This one here I've got with it says the Canon Speed Finder. They have interchangeable tops. This is the Pro model camera. And one of the things that specifically makes it a Pro model is that you can shoot it with no battery. Wait, I have this. This one's, there we go. Wrong button. I was trying to use the, but yeah, you can, this one actually I have a battery pack on. You need the battery for certain features, but it's the thing that really makes it Pro, in my opinion, is that in addition to all the other awesome features that Canon has, you know, like the A1 is a great camera. It's just shy of being, I think, considered a Pro camera because it does rely on the battery so much. You know, you can't be in the middle of the shoot and then have to start switching batteries. In addition to the Canon branded stuff, I also kind of have an offshoot onto the Canon Bell and Howell. So Bell and Howell was the first distributor, as far as I know. Bell and Howell was the first distributor for Canon in the US, and before they just you know, didn't put Canon's name exclusively on it, they used to have their own name. So this is the Bell and Howell FD35, and it's got a lens that's notated with Bell and Howell as well, but it's still a Canon lens. So this one even has the Bell and Howell flash too, which is kind of fun. So I store them up here on the shelf, and I keep growing the collection constantly. And so that's kind of what I have for today. And I would love to have any questions, except for that we're saving questions for the end. So if anyone has any comments or questions at the end, I'd love to chat about it. But that's just that's probably 1% of my Canon collection. You can see, you know, here, everything's Canon. I've got all stuff like lenses in the boxes, cameras in the boxes. I've got old stuff, new stuff. So it's kind of it's becoming probably problematic, but I'm having fun with it. So it's been good. Well, thanks everyone. It's great to see you. I'll look forward to the next presentation and chatting after.
Thanks, Ben. And I also want to thank Ben for all of his work this year, getting us on Zoom and keeping us on Zoom. So thank you, Ben.
My pleasure, Dana. Thank you.
All right, I think it's me. I am jealous of Vladimir's overhead camera setup because it is hard to show the cameras on screen, you know, just holding them up to my computer camera. I'm going to give it a go. And my camera of choice is my A1. I still use it. Okay, so this is a little unwieldy and the case is falling apart, but this is a Fujica 35 ml. Made in 1958 was when they started making them. The case is sort of a mess. That is not supposed to come off. But this is a rangefinder with an EVS system. This has a little, I don't know if you can see it, like a thumb holder on the bottom, so you can hold the camera like this. It screws into the mount. And this was my dad's camera. It's got some interesting things about it. If you can see in the front and on the bottom, the film advances on the bottom. There's a few things they did to save space to make this super compact, from what I understand. The film advance lever is on the bottom. It's also where you set the film speed that you're shooting. Here's the tripod mount. But you cock it like that. The film advance, film rewind is on the side of the camera. So saves a little space that way as well. You can see the pressure label, 1970s, 60s pressure label. So the camera opens this way. And I haven't run film through it. Unfortunately, the shutter is not working really well. It is linked. Let's see if I can, it's hard for me to see that you guys are seeing this, but the exposure system is you set the EV number, and then I don't know if you can see that it's linked and it advances coupled with the shutter speed and the aperture to keep it linked so that you can change the aperture or the shutter speed and it will automatically adjust. But this is a completely mechanical camera, so there's no battery. Another interesting thing is the focus is a wheel on the right. So you're not focusing with the lens, you're using this to focus the camera. And on top, I can shut this, on top, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, you can see the scale changing. And the way you set the number of exposures you have left is you have to use a little coin to reset this every single time. It doesn't automatically reset when you open the camera. So in addition, this came with like a very military style bunch of accessories hanging off the camera, which you would have to finagle, including a flash, which took, I think, an X or a B bulb. So you could sync this with the camera. It does have batteries underneath this, not working batteries, sadly. A little Ryco meter, a selenium meter, which is, are you showing this upside down? Very tiny, sits on top of the camera. It's not working terribly well. It moves, but it doesn't seem to correspond with the amount of light that it's reading. So not a working camera per se. I wish it was, but this has, again, little LV dials, ASA, and then a very nice Fuji branded lens hood. So this came with the camera. It came with a bunch of accessories when it was sold. So this is the lens hood with the little Fuji symbol on it. And my goal is to get this camera working. I would like to, it's got a nice viewfinder. It's got parallax correction, so the focus frame moves around to make sure you're focused on what you're shooting. And I also wanted to quickly share one other tiny thing that I think Vlad will get a kick out of, and I'm sure people have seen these, but this is supposedly the world's smallest SLR. This is the Pentax Auto 110 with interchangeable lenses, and you cannot control the aperture or the shutter speed. Everything is done inside with an iris. It's just focus. So you can focus it, but you have no control otherwise. And it's got a 110 cartridge still in the back that I can finish. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I don't know what's on it, but this belonged to my stepdad, and he thought that I should start building my collection again. The funniest thing about it is it also has a power winder, which has no batteries at the moment, but you can imagine this is overkill. But I just love this little thing. It's very cute. I think Vlad will probably know if 110 film is still readily available. I don't know where you get it these days, but so those are my toys that I wanted to share. I don't know how well you could see them. I still have my A1, and that's my film camera. That's the one I still use the most. So I can appreciate your collection, Ben. And that's my spot. So let's see, who is next? Ken. Ken, are you ready?
Right now, if you look out there, you'll see Nikon packing as much stuff as they possibly can into a given volume. And I'm just going to show the opposite approach these people are doing as a point of interest. It's not really an antique thing like the rest of you people. So that capsule is the camera that I'm going to talk about. It's the size of a jelly bean. See if the light helps. Okay, now it's best to understand the camera photographic system, is what it is, in terms of the application, which is a medical application. So in the past, I was on a blood thinner called Xarelto, and I developed a gastrointestinal bleed. So I lost a little blood, but we stopped the Xarelto and the bleed stopped. Now they want to find it. The GI tract is 34 feet long. So they went down from the top as far as they could go. They couldn't find anything. Up to the back as far as they could go, nothing there. So now they're going to do what's called a capsule endoscopy. This is the capsule. It consists of an 8-hour test to go through the intestinal tract. So it's got an 8-hour battery in it. It's got a precision focal plane, color, 4K, and it outputs the data through Wi-Fi into a box that you wear on your belt for memory. No shutter, but it has a bright LED flash that flashes once a second. They turn it on and then make sure it's operating, and then you swallow it. You go about your business for 8 hours, and you come back and they take the belt memory off and go off with it, and you go home and you poop out the camera into the septic tank. Then the doctor now looks at 30,000 pictures he got from the thing. So he got 30,000 pictures he's going through, and he comes back and he says, I found it, it's 11 feet in. Well, that's out of 34 feet, that's a third of the way in. He says, we don't have an endoscope that'll take care of that. He said, you have to go to a different hospital, which is Beth Israel has a special endoscopy suite. They have an endoscope plus other things there. They'll take care of it. And it takes them an hour, and they went and fixed it. They could not really locate a price on the thing. The reason is that it's part of the procedure and it's billed to the insurance. So that billing to the insurance is anywhere between $900 and $2,600, depending on your insurance, which is still cheaper than the Nikon. So that's it for modern technology. They told me that it's made in Israel. I don't know if they do the production or just the development. But there it is, the size of a jelly bean. All that photographic stuff packed in there. So I thought I'd give that out as a piece of interest. And that's it. Any questions, let me know.
It say pill.com on it. What is it? What is the lettering? I couldn't read it.
Oh, it says pill.com.
Or maybe cam.
It's PillCam.
PillCam.
PILLCAM. And then there's something underneath that I can't read.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. If you look at PillCam, you'll see them available on eBay for $50, but I have no idea what you're going to do with it.
Oh my goodness. It's like what was that movie, The Fantastic Journey, when they go inside in a little submarine
Yeah.
floating around?
Well, they were considering doing that for the the veins and things for blood, but they can find out enough information from the outside without doing that. So they didn't do that, but the intestinal tract is still unobservable from the outside.
So does the doctor, I wonder, watch the pictures like a animated movie with them all sort of strung together?
Yeah, you can say there is some overlapping. If you calculate the speed, you're going 34 feet in 8 hours. So that's not very fast. And you're taking 1 second samples.
Yeah.
So you get overlap. Yeah. Yeah. Well, otherwise something's going to fall in a crack.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Thank you, Ken.
The nice thing about it is if you're collecting cameras, it doesn't take up much room.
You got that right.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And I believe our last presenter is Vladimir.
Yes, hi everybody. Hi. I am going to talk about lomography, Lomo cameras, and lomography itself. Well, even though it's lomography stands for spontaneous photography, not paying a lot of attention to details, but it is very popular. And actually, Lomo is the only factory, the only plant, the only company that became lomography. I have not heard canonography or iconography or minoltography or anything like that. So lomography. Let me switch share my screen and we will start. How do I stop video and share the screen? Share the screen. Okay. So can everybody see this? Yes, thank you. All right. So history of Lomo. Lomo stands for Leningrad Optical Mechanical Association. This Lomo came from Russian language, so it is abbreviated in Russian, just transliterated into English as the same. So the first thing that happened to Soviet factory Lomo, there was no Lomo. They had very many small optic mechanical factories that were producing lenses and some optic devices. Then they were put together, and it is the GOMS. Again, this is Russian abbreviation, stands for State Optical Mechanical Plant. Later on, it was the name was transferred into Lomo, and because it was such a good factory with wonderful products, the factory was rewarded the highest order in the Soviet Union, Order of Lenin, 3 times. And when the Soviet Union collapsed, they kept the name Lomo. The letter L, the first letter, stands for Leningrad. Of course, now there is no Leningrad, there is St. Petersburg, as you can see it here, St. Petersburg, Russia. So this is the current logo of Lomo. Now you can see the very first building where Lomo was originated in 1914 as a French-Russian company producing lenses and other optical stuff. Then after Russia became Soviet, and when Soviet Union was founded in 1922, in 1928, the factory started thinking of designing the first camera, and this first camera is PhotoCore. After my presentation, I will show you some cameras, and PhotoCore is one of those. After that, they started copying Leicas. Well, everybody in the world was copying Leicas, and this is the sample of St. Petersburg Leica. After this, it was a very interesting camera. This is the very first in the world 35 millimeter SLR. The famous Exacta was made in 1935. This fact makes this camera first in the entire world. Unfortunately, after the World War II, this design was not continued, and they stopped producing cameras because of the Nazis bombed the Leningrad, and Leningrad was seized. After that, in 1946, they were preparing to make some twin lens reflex cameras, TLR. This particular one is not a real TLR. This is a pseudo TLR, as I wrote here. Pseudo because these two lenses are not connected. This camera cannot be focused. So this is more like a box camera. It just looks like TLR. But their next design was real TLR, which is Lubitel. And I will show you a couple of cameras, these two cameras, after my presentation. After that, they created a series of cheap cameras. Yes, cheap cameras. There was no battery, there was no electronics. It's pure mechanical cameras for beginners. These are pure mechanical cameras for beginners. The first models were Bakelite housings, but all the latest cameras have plastic housings. I will show you this one, not this one, but next, and this one. All right. After that, they created Sputnik. Well, of course, Soviet Union, right? 57, designed in 1955, and the camera was named, the Sputnik flew in 1957. So this camera was probably named after this Sputnik. It's a stereo camera based on Lubitel design, has two lenses and two taking lenses and one focusing lenses, and it's a 6 millimeter film, 120 film. After that, this camera is totally, completely different, absolutely new design. It has the spring motor. Spring motor advances the film, and you can take 20 pictures after one full actuation of the spring. Well, Here is the note. If you can do it, you can shoot 3 frames per second. Why you can do it? Because you have to actually release the shutter for each frame. The camera does not provide, just like modern cameras, does not provide automatic film advancement. And in 1962, the GOMS was renamed into Lomo. The several cameras that were made in Lomo already have batteries, already have electronics. And I will show you this camera a little later, but they were 2 of these cameras. This is number 2, and the only difference is the hot shoe. The previous one did not have hot shoe. It had the synchro contact for flash. And finally, in 84, they created Lomo Compact. Lomo Compact. Actually, this is the camera that that initiated lomography. It's a very interesting story, and lomography came from well, this camera, of course, but it was a group of students from Vienna, from Austria. They discovered this camera in an old store, and in '94, and they figured out how nice it is to shoot with this camera. But as we know, the heart of the camera is the lens. And unfortunately, the original lens that was Minotaur was not as good as it is now. We had problems. They had problems with that lens. It had insufficient peripheral resolution, darkening edges, and besides everything else, the lens was very expensive. Lev Sakin, who is going to present in January, was the one who gave this Lomo compact camera a new life. New life because with the old Minotaur, this camera was not nobody was able to use that camera. He recalculated, redesigned the Minotaur. He solved all the problems in a very short period of time, and he will tell you the entire story in January. I'm not going to do it for him. He will do it himself. He is a very good storyteller. So this is how lomography is spread over the entire world. So these stores you can see practically all over the world. And this is the story about how lomography was initiated. And take a look at this date. It's practically 30 years ago, right? November 5th, today, December 5th. So as of today, it is 29 years ago when lomography, LSI, Lomographic Society International, was founded. And the best defining feature for lomography is the Lomo wall. Nobody knows, or everybody wants to know what what Lomo wall is. And here we go. This is the Lomo wall. This wall is created or made of pictures, photographs taken by Lomo compact camera by different authors, of course, different photographers, different times. This is how they organized the exhibitions, right? So this is my bibliography, and I'd like to switch to the screen sharing, stop sharing. Okay, and I will switch the camera so I can show some cameras as they were made. So the first one is the photocore. This is the camera photocore, right? This is the lens, and it still works. And the format is 9 by 12 centimeters. This is the viewfinder. So you view through this hole, and you find the wire viewfinder. Okay, so this is the photocore. This kind of camera was given by my grandfather to my father. This is my father's first camera. All right. Now the next one is Lubitil. Lubitil, this is Lubitil 2, and this is Lubitil 2 as well. But this one is made by Gomes. This one is made by Gomes, and this is already Lomo. You can see it's in Latin, and some parts are plastic, not metal as we have it here, but they both work. And the format is 6 by 6, so 120 film is used here. Now the next is Smena. Smena, this is one of the early cameras, Smena. All Smenas had about the same lens and the same design. The only difference is this lens is a little slower than this one. This one is 4.5, and this one is 4. So not too much. In addition to the Smenas, we had this rangefinder, separate rangefinder. You can turn this, and you can see the meters, right? All right, and finally, the last exhibit is Sokol 2. Sokol 2 is this camera. It's half automatic, half manual, and you can click. You can see it's electric eye system here, and Dana, it has the same way. Of course, it's broken off, right? To rewind the film. The lens is Induster 70, and it's not 4.5. It's 2.8. It's pretty fast lens. The camera is rangefinder, so that's how it works. That's about it for me. And wait a minute, where is my stop video? Okay, that's it. I'm done. All right.
Thank you, Vlad. That
Sure.
was great. That was
My
great.
pleasure, as usual.
And I will remember to pronounce Lev's name Sakin when he is.
Taken. Yeah, it's taken.
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
So we are at about 3:35. Ben, what is our plan for the rest of the time? How much time do we have?
I think we should stay on at least until 3:45, and then we can evaluate at 3:45.
Okay. Okay. I'm just looking through the chat to see if there are questions. I don't know. There was a question for Joel from Larry. I don't know if he saw it. Do you scan the negatives or make physical prints? Did you see that?
Yes, the vast majority of the images I've taken over the past couple of years have been scanned. My house was filling up with prints, and I have a large number of binders, folders, cases which have images, and I figured that it was a better use of my time to just make them available electronically.
They're wonderful. Thank you. Anyone else have questions? You can either type them into chat, or I'm looking at the participants list. You can use the, I think it's the reactions button, which is on the lower right part of your screen, and you can raise your hand. That's one of the reactions you can do.
Can't see that.
Okay, go ahead, Jack.
I finally got through. I put in chat earlier that I'd like to do a show and tell, and you guys, you passed right by me here.
Oh no, sorry.
I have a nice show and tell here, but how much time do I have? I don't want to go over time and embarrass myself.
Our goal was 5 minutes, but we all went over. But we want to sort of
5
also
minutes, all right?
Yeah.
All right. I brought Christmas stuff. And I know it's important if you got the box, the camera comes in. So here's the box right here. If you went into a pharmacy about, I guess about 90 years ago, you'd see this sitting on the counter. And that's a box for this camera set I'm going to show you. This is a lady set. It's lipstick, rouge, a mirror, and a place to put money. And when it's all back together, I took this out because I didn't want to pull it out while I was online. This little petite camera also came in it. It's a Kodak Petite, and this here is the autographic one. This little set was very, very expensive. They were on eBay for years. Every once in a while, one would turn up. So I saved my money for about 3 years before I could buy this. It was very, very expensive, and one of the most expensive things in my collection. The second thing I want to show you is a camera called a Coquette. Now, we went to a yard sale on a Saturday, and this was in a very exclusive neighborhood. In fact, the people selling things at the yard sale, some of the men still had ties on, and you never see that at a yard sale. So I asked, I says, is there any old cameras here by any chance? To one of the people who was selling a lot of nice things. And the guy says, yeah, he says, I got a camera inside, but it's got a lot of sentimental value. So I says, let's see it. So he went in and he come out and he had this, whoops, this one's dropping out too. He had this case, this box in a case. He says, this has been in the bureau drawer for years. I don't know how long. Well, I know how long. It's because it's about 90 years old, but it kept in beautiful condition. Here's what's inside. It's a camera, it's a lipstick, and it's a rouge, similar to the other one, except this is made to go into a lady's pocketbook, I guess, whole or by the pieces. Now, this is the camera. It's called a coquette camera. And here's the rouge. You can see how they match. This is harder to find than this is. But here I got it all together, and I'll open it up to let you see what it looks like. Oops. I can't get it to pull out, but this is what it looks like. Once again, it's a petite camera. Only they're called coquettes. This one doesn't have the autographic feature. I asked him, he says, this is not going to be cheap, he says, because this has a lot of sentimental value. I says, well, what is it going to cost me for this sentimental value? He says, $9. So I reached in my pocket and I had the $9 out so fast. I think he just blinked in meantime. I gave him the $9, thank you, and took off. I found out years ago that if you're going to buy something like this off somebody, it's better to pay their price and not to discuss money with them. Because if I said this set is worth a lot more than $9, now he'd want to know how much more. He would not believe anything I told him after that. And I wouldn't have got it. So I gave him the $9 and said, thank you. He was happy. He's probably still happy. And I'm happy. I got one more to show you. These are all Christmas items, by the way. The story one here is even better. When we started collecting years ago, we used to go to a local flea market down on Route 1 in North Attleboro called Witchy's, and there was a second one up the road called Jolly Charlie's. They were both kind of junky flea markets, and they didn't usually have anything good, but at that time I was only looking for black folding cameras and box cameras. So somebody said, well, why don't you go up to Norton? They have antiques up there. So I went up to Norton, Massachusetts, to that flea market the following Sunday. And Claire and I started walking around, and we went down a row, and we come to a table where a guy had a whole table full of Red Bell's cameras. He had so many on the table that I didn't have enough money to buy them all. So all I could buy was 2. And it was like a kid in the candy store. I had to. So we bought 2. And then Norton became a regular stop for us. 5 o'clock in the morning, we were there to go in. So towards the end of the year, everybody's talking about Brimfield. And I said, what's Brimfield? They says, well, that's a town near Steerbridge in Massachusetts. And the whole town has a flea market. They said, everywhere you look, there's a flea market. So I said, is there a real good one in the whole bunch? One I could go to and not be worried I missed something and there might be any others. And they says, yeah. And they told me the name of it. I think it was R&R, but I've forgotten over the years. I think that was the name though. Anyway, they said they start at 12 o'clock on a Saturday and they won't let you in a second before. They said you'll see a big group of people standing out in front because when they open that gate, in they go. It costs $3 a person to get in there, whereas we were paying 50 cents in the local flea markets. So Claire and I go down there at about 11 o'clock. We get there. We figure an hour early should be fine. There's no crowd. We go in. A lady had right at the gate, she's got a box of daguerreotypes. Boy, I dove into them. She said, oh, sir, those are all sold. She says, I sold them earlier. I'm just waiting for the fellow to come back and pick them up. So we walk some more and we spot a camera. I ask about that. I get the same story. Somebody came earlier. So I says to the dealer, I says, what time did you open? He says, oh, they changed it because the police didn't want the traffic all at once anymore. So we had to open at 7 o'clock in the morning. So we were 5 hours late for the flea market. So I'm ready to go. Claire won't let me go. She said, no, you got to walk up and down a couple more aisles. So we walked down a couple more aisles, and we're going down this aisle, and I can see a space, one space where a dealer could fit in. And here's a pickup truck coming up the other way, all packed up with stuff with a plastic cover over. So they pull in, and it's an old man and an old lady, and they're from New York. They got New York plates. So I said to the man, I says, do you have anything cameras? Oh, he says, no, sir. We sell high-class antiques. He says, we don't have anything like cameras. He says, just high-class antiques. So I walked around the back of the truck, and I'm heading on back over to Claire's, but standing there waiting for me. And the lady says, hey, cameraman, wait a minute. And she pulls this out from under the plastic thing. She said, I got something that come in late, and I don't think my husband's seen it. And she throws it at me. I had to catch it. This is an Ansco camera in here. This is an Ansco vanity kit made to look like a lady's vanity kit. But it's even got another feature. When this is closed, the viewfinder is here. You look through the viewfinder there. The shutter comes out of this hole right here where you take a picture. You work the shutter by this little knob over here, and you wind your film over here. It's a detective camera. It's not the world's first detective camera, but I think it's the only detective camera that has rouge, lips, and I guess powder, and of course the mirror here. These are super expensive, and if you look on Flint's auction in England, Great Britain, one of these just sold for $5,000. So it's a hard thing to find. And she threw it at me. She says, it's $30 on it. So once again, I didn't know what it was worth, but I knew I liked it. I wanted it. I opened it like this. So I went over, I gave her the $30. And there was a couple over on the other side of the rows. And they had gotten in, they were collectors and more dealers than collectors. They had got in ahead of us because somebody was telling me they were riding around on a motorbike to all the dealers in there before the thing opened. I don't know how they arranged that, but they did. And when they see me put this in my knapsack, they wouldn't leave us alone. They kept after us. I want to see it. What'd you got? What is it? I said, just an Ansco camera. So that's my show and tell, all Christmas items. Thank you for the extra time.
Thanks, Jack. That was great. Ben, where are we at?
Well, I think that's all of the show and tells that we have for tonight. So we should all socialize for a few minutes. And right now it's 3:49. So I think if we stop by 4 o'clock, if everything, or sooner, or maybe a few minutes after, I think that should be great.
Okay, great. Thank you for everyone who shared, and what you can do if you'd like to send a greeting is just unmute yourselves. I know we're going to step on each other, but that's fine. So.
Hey, this is Neil. I just want to say you inspired me to go dig into the closet really quick. And it's not that old, but here's my oldest one,
nice.
Minolta, that's about 40 years old. And I shouldn't have done it. I should have put some batteries in it first, but it actually has film in it. So, but there's still half a roll that I didn't expose that I can use.
Pretty cool.
Very nice. I just want to say happy holidays to everyone. It's been a really great afternoon just listening to everybody's stories in here and all about the treasures. And I've never been to it's just Brimfield looking for cameras. It is overwhelming. There are so many dealers. It's insane. So I'm amazed you found that. That's a real find. But Photographica, I just want to remind everyone, when we do go back to the camera show, not only are there cameras and equipment and accessories, there are also images. So if you're an image collector, please come. And also the famed dollar tables, which are a lot of fun. Those are made available at a certain time, and everybody sort of rushes in and pillages them, and it's a lot of fun.
There are going to be some items on the dollar tables that are nicer in some ways or more useful than we've had in the past. Sid and I have already put aside maybe 8 or 10
we got some nice stuff in there.
little tripods and things like that for at $1 a piece. If you want to display cameras on a shelf, things like that, it's going to be a lot of fun. We want to clean out the warehouse, and we're busy packaging stuff already for the show.
That's exciting. I love the dollar tables.
Yep.
This is going to be a lot of fun. Also, we like to supply schools, and if you know any high schools that have or colleges that have programs and they want stuff, we put aside colored filters for the black and white cameras, and a whole bunch of things. So any teacher can make an appointment and come in and scrounge. In fact, any member who wants to come in and scrounge and have some bargains and help us get rid of some of this stuff, it will be a great pleasure to help them.
So should they just mail info@phsne.org? Who should they
Or
contact?
they could office@phsne.org,
Office@phsne.org.
or just call on the PHSNE phone and leave a message, and we'll call back and they can set up a time.
Great.
Dana,
We do look at the,
Dana, if you'd like to know Brimfield, they're on YouTube. On YouTube, just put Brimfield in, and it'll give you the dates and everything, but it'll show you somebody going around buying stuff.
Yeah,
Idea what
it's
like.
huge. It's
You
like
can't go there and not find something, believe
Yeah.
me.
it's sort of unusual. They generally want 40 or 50 bucks for old folding cameras that we would part with from the warehouse for maybe $5 if we're lucky.
Right. Yeah. It's
Also, if you know any antique dealers or flea market people, we had one guy who last year spent $500 and this year spent another 200
Yep.
and got rid of 2 or 3 boxes of old cameras.
right.
And I've got one more thing to share. I actually totally forgot this was one. This is my just in from Vietnam, my wooden Canon camera. So this one, you can actually put the lens on. It's not the real mount or anything like that, of course, but I kept seeing people sharing these wooden cameras, so I had to get one. This is the AE one. I've got an A1 and a Leica 3 as well. It's laser cut out of wood and then all glued together and everything like that. Pretty fun.
That's cool.
Let me present something. I was doing a little house cleaning, and we talk about things here that are 100 years old. We've just finished talking about things 100 years old and they function. Well, let me show you something that is I purchased as an early adopter 24 years ago, and it's now absolutely antique. It is a Hewlett-Packard film scanner called Photo Smart. I'm one of the early adopters. This is what Hewlett-Packard is marketing for people to scan. It did 35mm negative, 35 slide, and up to 4x6 prints. And of course, for those who know, this is the old-fashioned SCSI input. It's a SCSI 1. And I happen to have a Windows 95, which has been upgraded to Windows 98 with the SCSI card to still scan. And it produces outstanding 24 pixels per inch, which was for the consumer state of the art. So now, I mean, this is basically a 150-year-old device, the way time flies in our business. The printer, which was a dye sublimation printer, died long time ago. They were terrible. But the old scanner still works. So,
Actually, I've got a neat show and tell item that I bought this last week. A Night Exacta.
yeah.
This is a classic.
Which Exacta is it, Paul?
It's a Night Exacta. I think it's a Model 1.
Ah, okay.
It's pretty.
You can tell it's a Night Exacta because actually, it might not even be a Night Exacta, but they were all fairly similar. But this goes back to about 1934.
Yeah, I have ones that are newer than that.
Well, everyone's got an Exacta in their collection, but this one was a little bit more unusual.
Sid, I like how you have to maintain the old operating system to still use your. I have a photo printer like that where, yeah, I can only use it on my old computers, the ones I refuse to throw out. That's awesome that you have that. And then,
but I haven't parted up for a while. It should boot up. I still have the disk, so I guess I could.
Hey, Paul, is that Exacta for 6 centimeters or 35?
128 film.
128.
So it's 1 5/8 by 2 1/4.
Wow. Yeah. So yes, that's definitely before 1934.
Well, it's around that period.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, because the
It
first.
has a lot to do with the value. These Night Exactas are fairly valuable. Those Kodak cameras that you had, those novelty cameras, are worth a lot of money. I sold one that was in one of those little kits without the kit for $200. The
Wow.
Art Deco little Kodaks.
Yeah.
So if it's small and it's really Art Deco, it's worth a fair amount of money.
Yeah.
Wow.
One of our members from the Netherlands is a big Kodak collector. I don't know if he's on listening in now.
Yeah. What I wanted to add to a previous presentation is this little camera. It was made as a souvenir for Girl Scout Congress. And it's really small. This is the regular sticky note, so you can compare the size, right? So this is how it opens, right? And this is I'm shooting now.
What film did it take, Victor?
It's 127. 127. Well, it's
No,
broken.
actually, it took Univex Film. That company
Yes.
was a system unto itself, and they did not take any standard Kodak or Ansco sizes. You had to buy Univex Film for it. And the advantage was Univex Film was cheaper than Kodak Film.
Right.
The problem was the company made cameras. They imported their film from De Vert in Belgium. When World War II happened, they had no more film.
Does anyone know where to get 127 black and white film anywhere?
Seattle, not Seattle Filmworks, but there's some place in the Northwest of the United States that occasionally stocks 127.
Does Freestyle have it?
Occasionally.
Yeah, because that's the baby Rolly too. That would be nice to you try.
There
The
used
gray
to be a
baby
guy-
Rolly.
There used to be a guy in Boston called Film for Classics. I'm sorry, in Buffalo called Film for Classics. He respooled the film and he also developed them. He had all sizes. Now, I wasn't scheduled to present anything today, but if you'd like, I'll show you one camera that might be interesting, which I think probably nobody has seen. Is that okay?
Let's see it, Bill.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I'm Bill Kress. Everybody knows me as the flashbulb guy, okay? So of course, I'm going to show you something with flashbulbs. This was a camera made by Philips back in the 50s, and it was called the Philips Flitz, F-L-I-T-Z. Now, the deal with this was back in the 50s when flashbulbs were selling over $1 billion a year, Philips came out with this camera, and they told their dealers that if you wanted to buy bulbs to resell, you had to buy this camera, okay? Which is a Bakelite camera. It has a built-in flash. It's very well made, and they were $5 at the time. Well, most dealers didn't want to deal with this camera for whatever the reason, but they had to take them in order to get the bulbs. So what happened was most of them got destroyed. Now, there weren't a lot in the US, they were all over Europe at the time. And today they're considered museum pieces. And it's a very unusual camera because it's just so well made, being Bakelite. It takes 120 film, okay? And it was very well made, but that was the story. And you know, today you may see them in Europe in different places. They generally sell for about $400 or $500 a piece, or you'll see them in museums. But it's an unusual camera which most people have never seen before, called the Philips Flitz.
If anyone wants flash bulbs or lamps, come to the office. We will be glad to unload them on you.
All right, guys. I think we are at the end of our meeting. I want to thank everyone who shared. That was great fun. And I think maybe we can discuss in the future doing a very short show and tell along with the speaker presentations, because at the physical meetings, we used to do that before the speaker presented as well. So if anybody's interested, maybe we can book you for a 5-minute slot before speakers coming up in the future.
Maybe, Dana, we could have a thing where everyone gets to present, like for 30 seconds or a minute, their favorite camera.
That would be like a whole meeting of just doing that. That would be amazing.
Well, we could do that for about 10 people at the beginning of a meeting. Not a show and tell, but it might be more interesting, especially
nobody's going to stick to 30 seconds.
So maybe you have to send a video clip in.
Yeah.
No, that's a great idea. I love that.
Well, you
All
know,
right.
I always have my cameras in hands reach, so whenever I get to show like 5 or 6 cameras a meeting because I have them so close, just pull them right up.
That's your
My
key.
contacts. This is my I think this is called like a Contacts 3 or something like
Contacts. Okay, it's no, Vladimir, it's not the Russian one.
that. No.
Yeah, I know.
So anyways, well, it's great seeing everyone. So we'll be back for when is our next meeting approximately? It would be the first week in January, and
The first week of January. Hang on a second. Sorry, I don't have my
It's the
calendar.
9th.
Yes, it's the 9th because we're not doing it the holiday weekend. So it will be the 9th of January. Again, back to 7:30. All right, everybody.
And that will be left vacant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays,
holidays,
to
everyone.
everybody.
Holidays to
Good to see
everybody.
everyone.
Take care.
It's, yeah, and applause.
Thanks, Greg.
Yeah.
Thanks. All right. Good night, everyone. Take
Good
care.
night.
Good night, y'all.
Good night.